Right, Glenn, you've got 1 hour to prepare to start writing a new sales pitch, and you don't know what the product is. So you have to prepare to sell anything, okay? So there's no prior knowledge, no understanding of the market. What's your process? This is the question that I asked myself when I was on an aeroplane coming back from the States last week, because I realized that lots of what we do, lots of what we talk about involves lots and lots of time, right? So when we're talking about developing ideas and coming up with that hook or finding a way into a pitch, we always assume that you have lots of time to do all that work because we're lucky enough to have a billing model and work in an industry where you might get, well, I would get months to work on a single project. So I get a lot of time to think about it. But I am aware the more copywriters that I meet, whether it's at our socials or Fix Fest or whatever it might be, or just on my travels, the more I realize lots of copywriters don't have the luxury of time. They have to think about things in the morning and write it up by the afternoon, or they might have a couple of days. They've got to turn that idea around quickly. So I challenged myself to come up with the 5 things, there's your thumbnail, 5 things that I would do if I only had a really short period of time to prepare to start writing a pitch.
Welcome to The Fix. Sit down with copywriting experts Nick O'Connor and Glenn Fisher as they review, discuss, and improve real-world copy sent in by you. This is The Fix. I will check them off because I actually do often only have an hour to write some copy. Yesterday and the day before, I've been writing very short copy that just gets briefed to me, and you have to very, very quickly think on your feet. So I will either corroborate or deny your copy. Let's hit the first one.
Yeah, just to be clear, these are my own personal ones, so you'll corroborate nothing.
I'll corroborate what needs corroborating. There is a Platonic corroboration ideal. That's what we want to. I was actually you lead me into a different thought, a different place of thought.
Right. There may or may not be some corroboration. Let's worry about that when we come to it. 5 things, okay? 5 things I would do. Now, these are all supposed to be things that you can do quickly. So it's a process you can run through, but it should take a full hour. So you're going to engage your brain a lot for that hour. So it's not necessarily a shortcut, but it's the condensed version of what I would do if I was only given a short period.
It's the first thing, wash your hands.
Always. And stretch off. For God's sake, get your hip flexors loose. Because if you're riding with tight hips, how do you ever expect to succeed? No, you don't need to stretch off unless you're exercising. That's different.
But you do need to wash your hands.
Always
dirty copy. Yeah. Dirty copy will not be committed to a client under the Fix banner.
Okay, so wash your hands. Chuck. That's up there with get in the bath. Get in the bath, wash your hands. Now you're ready to start writing copy. Okay.
Wait. Do not get in a bath with dirty hands. Wash your hands before you get in the bath. My God, man. Carry on.
Wash your hands. Get in the bath. Open your laptop. Imagine this. Imagine this was a...
I mean, we're up to 3. We're nearly done. The episode's nearly over.
Right. Just reverse all of that.
Fill the bath.
You're fully
fill the bath with water. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Here's the first thing you need to do. Whether your hands are clean or dirty. Imagine you're the ideal customer for the product that you have to sell, and write 3 sentences on what they dream about. Their deepest dream. Your speculation of what they dream of achieving, becoming, whatever it might be. That dream may be a nightmare. Okay, could be a positive dream or a negative dream. I say that because obviously lots of people that follow the Fix are interested in finance, and if we're talking about finance, we might be talking about a negative outcome. Might be a nightmare situation in the world, nightmare personal situation, a big loss, whatever it might be, or it could be a positive situation. 3 sentences. Okay, I don't want anybody to avoid the active part of this process. So don't just ask yourself the question. No, ask yourself the question and then write 3 sentences, coherent sentences, not notes. I think sometimes the formalization of the process actually forces you to do it properly. Because if you can't write 3 sentences, or your sentences get rich or get thin, you haven't done it properly. You haven't thought it through properly. So the 3 sentences.
Both my reoccurring nightmares. Getting rich and getting thin.
Get rich. Get thin. Okay, so that's the first thing. So that's to point your attention at the customer, your prospect. 3 sentences on it, 3 full, coherent sentences. That part's really important. I think elements of what I'm going to talk about here, the way I approach writing is almost like doing exercise. You don't just do one, lift the dumbbells once. You have to do reps and sets, whatever. You have to structure the way that you exercise. Same thing going on up here. You have to structure your process. So, dream or nightmare from your ideal customer. That's question 1. Now we're going to switch and look at the product. Okay. Obviously, you're going to have to make that pivot in the early part of your process. So you thought about your prospect. Now I want you to look at the product, and I want you to write down everything that you can only say about this product and no other product. This may only be one thing. It may be multiple things. So I think a lot of people miss this because maybe they think about the customer. They know about that. They know they need to talk about desires and dreams or nightmares, things going on in here or in here. But you need to look at your product and ask yourself, what is genuinely different about this product compared to all of the other offerings out there in the marketplace? So if it's a diet, what's different about this diet? Is it created by somebody unusual? Is there an unusual element? Do you eat at an unusual time? Are you still allowed to eat takeaways on the weekend or whatever it might be? You have to push yourself and say, what can I say about this that could not be said about anything else? And Glenn, a lot of the copy that we look at copy on a regular basis, every single week for the Fix Accelerator and our live calls, that's often a piece that's missing, isn't it? Like that sort of unique mechanism.
Yeah, so point 1, go, where is the reader, what is keeping them up at night? Corroborated, official. Like, yeah, perfect. That's exactly the first. If you'd put me on the spot in the intro, which I thought you might do, the first thing I would do is, where is the prospect at? That's just fundamental copywriting, like 101. That's where you've got to go. And what keeps them up at night? Being rich, being clean, washing their hands. That's all the value. Point 2, I again agree with you, as is my desire in what we do, and to our difference, if you like, with the Fix, is to be uber practical about everything. And I know from experience, from copy I've written today, that finding the point of difference, and that's not necessarily the USP. We've debated that a little bit, see previous discussions, but finding that point of difference is the thing that will help your copy be stronger. And I accept that, and that is true, and that element is corroborated. However, what I'm thinking about, and maybe just get your thoughts on this, or maybe just as a stick a pin in it, or whatever they say, I believe you will find, especially outside of the financial industry, in like clients and agencies and all this kind of stuff, the point of difference that truly separates a product from its competitors is not always the thing that the client or the product owner thinks they want to be the thing that separates them from their competitors and what have you. And that's a really interesting thing, and it's a much bigger philosophical thing, and I want to get back to the 5 things, but just be aware that even if the client pushes back on that because you've gone, well, this is actually what makes you difference, the only positivity can come because they'll either react and go, God, I didn't think about that. That's really interesting. Thank you. You're intelligent. I'll employ you again. They'll go, cool, you're intelligent. That's made me realize I'm still not going to take that as the point, and I'm still going to write the same crap copy as everybody else. But I know that you're thinking. they're never going to go, no, you don't get it. And it's like, no, you will get it by doing that work. So I'm just putting that there for any writer who's thinking, yeah, but they don't want to sell that. They want to sell the fact that they're the same as everybody else, or they're in that space. I think that happens a lot. It happened to me today, that the point of difference, which you leaned into, because that's where the point of difference is, the actual client or whoever's dealing with it, whoever's managing that, they're like, oh, that makes us look really different. And so much advertising out there doesn't actually want to look different. It wants to look similar. So just as the copywriter, be aware of that, do the work, find out what the point of difference is. And it's hard. That's a really hard thing to do. But knowing it is 100% valuable. What you come to use that for depends on your relationship. So I think it's just worth putting a pin in that, putting that in the bath with us.
That's very true. We actually talked about this last week on a live call, that advertising, for all of its talk of thinking differently, creativity, it's a deeply, deeply conformist industry.
Oh, totally.
Look at adverts. They're all the same. You put the telly on, the tone is the same, the style is the same. The general, I'm just being generally here across an advertisement break or on the tube or billboards. They don't change the register. They don't change the style. It's a deeply, deeply conformist industry, which is actually, it's what creates the opportunity to become a very successful and highly paid copywriter. Because for all the talk of thinking differently and being creative, most people aren't actually living that's not the truth they're living. It's a virtue they're signaling, but they're not actually following through. Their actions don't live up to their words. So if you can make good on that and actually take a risk and actually push and actually look to be different, you've got a good opportunity to cut through. Just one point I would make. I've seen this because we've literally had people post it in. So when we do our live calls, obviously everybody's live on the call, but people can post stuff while we're talking. You know, if they're in a coffee shop or whatever and they can't talk, they can post their questions. We've seen people write, there's actually nothing different about this product. You are not allowed to reach that conclusion, okay? It's banned. You cannot, as a copywriter, say, well, there's actually nothing different about what this person's doing. No. You have to fight, you have to chase that feeling away, like a dog down a dark alleyway. Get out of the bath, get grub. You're not allowed to say that. You cannot.
And it might, to think of obstacles and think of objections, it might be quite a banal, quite simple thing. Yeah, it might just be, oh, but this is yellow and all the other ones are red. And you go, right, okay. At the moment, that's not copy. That's just you identifying what is the point of difference. I will apply my copy theory down the line. But you need to know what is the thing. And it might be mundane. You're not looking for, oh, but this does it in the dark. I don't know why that's the most extreme thing I was thinking. But this does it in this way. That's new and weird and thing. No, it could be banal.
I'll give you an example. You're absolutely right. It could be if the building has a view, or a different view, or with different types of brick, or the different level of expertise in the architecture level, or no expertise. This is built by complete amateurs, or whatever it might be. I'll give you an example, right? Last year when we were running a copy seminar, two of us, a business in Oxford. I won't say the name of the business. But we were at lunch with the management, just in the break. And this is a business that one of their product ranges is cosmetics and supplements. One of the guys behind the business was talking to me about collagen. Okay, I don't really know what collagen is, but he was saying how most products are made with, I think it's pig collagen. It could have been bovine collagen, not human collagen. Okay, for any collagen experts out there, I may have misremembered this, but he was very caught up on the point that lots of products that say they have collagen are actually, they're selling you the idea of something that isn't quite true. It's taken from a different source or whatever. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It might not be a pitch yet. We're not talking about writing yet. We're just talking about preparing to write. That's the type of thing that I'd be writing down. That's different. Okay, this actually comes from this, or why is that important, or whatever. So write down everything that you can. Could be everything from, you get the trades by text. You only hear from the expert once a month. You will not hear from them in between, because they know that the more you trade, that could be anything. You've got to really know the product or really look at the product, but you need to find that point of difference. You're not allowed to say it's not unique. You have to find the unique element. If you're not prepared to find the unique element, you're not prepared to write, and you're probably going to fail as a copywriter. Could be bad news. Get out of the bath, wash your hands again, go and find a different job. Sorry.
Or bath.
Yeah.
Take a shower. Yeah.
But
You're the showering type.
Go and find a different bath or shower, or just a man with a hose in the street. Okay. So we've talked about our customer. We've talked about our product. Obviously, if we had loads of time, we'd really delve into all those things. But in the interest of speed, we're not going to do that. So the next thing I would recommend doing is think about what your customer suspects. What do they think might be true? What do they have suspicions about? Whether that's good or bad, that something's wrong and they're not being told, or there is a way of solving their problem, but they haven't heard it yet, or what do they suspect? Now ask yourself, how can I confirm those suspicions, those deeply held gut level feelings they have? How can I tell them those are true? You're right about that.
Specifically in relation to the product or service you're selling?
Yeah, well, this depends on the product, but so if it was a diet, for instance, they might suspect, look, I know there's no shortcut. I know I've tried all of this stuff and none of that stuff ever works. Okay, you're right about that, you might say.
Yep.
That's a direct, way into your product. If we're talking about a financial product that's talking about things that are going wrong in the world, it could be a much more abstract suspicion they have. There's something we're not being told here, or something's gone wrong in the highest levels of government, or the economy isn't working. So it could be high.
It would still tonally be with the financial promo anyway. So I think, that's fine. It's not, if you're selling soap, you don't need to worry if they think JFK was shot by an alien kind of thing. That's not it's all right. I always knew soap was dirty and I shouldn't be washing my hands. It's that kind of thing.
I say it needs to be adjacent to the product. Within the fact, within that, we know that it could be direct or indirect, our pitch. So it could be an indirect suspicion or it could be a direct suspicion. But we want on some level to confirm their suspicions, that you're right. That feeling that you have about X, Y, or Z is right. It should be a gut feel, something that they maybe haven't articulated yet. You're trying to validate the way they feel. Maybe even the way they're feeling as they read your pitch, although that's a bit meta because we haven't started writing yet. But I want to figure out what they suspect, and I want to lean into that, because I think part of a great sales pitch talks to that part of the prospect's psyche and says, yeah, you're right. That thing you thought, that's such a powerful thing, that calling out of that emotion. Suspicion is an emotion, by the way. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be they're scared or they're greedy. Suspicion and curiosity are far more powerful emotions to work with. So what do they suspect might be the case? What are they?
You just got to remember, at the end of the day, we are caught in a trap and we can't go on together, baby, with suspicious minds. No, you can't. Point 3, corroborated. What's question 4?
Okay, so it's actually connected to point 3. So I then start thinking about what their expectations of the future are. Okay, what do they expect to be the case? What do they think is coming? So this could be at the economic level, more of the same. Could be nothing's happened in Britain for a long time. The stock market doesn't go anywhere. I buy loads of shares that don't go up. They could be expecting more of that. They could be expecting the diet plan not to work. I'm using finance and diet because I feel like they're so different. One's direct, one's indirect, but it could be anything. I want to figure out what their expectations are, but unlike suspicions where I want to validate those suspicions with their expectations of the future, I want to confound them. I want to try and figure out, how do I say, no, what you might be expecting is 100% incorrect. What you might be being told about what's coming next is completely wrong. So you might be expecting me to tell you you have to fast for 20 hours a day and do 400 sit-ups and launch your own. Glenn, you've gone very, very slow. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. It's fine. Now I've frozen. Can you hear me?
I've been able to hear you, but your face is like that of a Elon Musk presentation in Tijuana.
I got a little Mac circling little windmill thing for a second. Let's not worry about it. Let's not.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not like I spent most of this time talking about being in the bath and washing your hands. Right. So
it's fine.
I want to confound their expectations. So I want to confirm their suspicions. So I want to validate and agree on that level. But their expectations, I want to show them that something different is the case. Something different's coming. So you might have heard and be expecting a lot of things about X, Y, or Z. They're all wrong. The truth is something completely different. And different is the key word there. So you don't necessarily have to say, like, it's, you know, the truth, what's really going to happen is far better or far worse. You can. Just different is enough. It opens a gap between what they're expecting of the world and what the reality might be. And that's a powerful gap to open. If that makes sense, then that's what I'm saying. And if it doesn't make sense,
listeners are probably expecting me to corroborate the fourth point. But no, what they were expecting is different. I refuse. There is a different way. But that's point 4. The final point.
I think it's really important to think about those things, suspicions and expectations, and how we work with them and how we work against them. Because again, we're drawing out so there's the world at large, which our product exists in, and then there's our prospect. Okay. And we're trying to draw out connections between what's going on in here and what's going on out there. So what they suspect to be the case, what they might be expecting, these are ways of projecting the reader's sense of self and sense of the world out into the world so that we can subvert it, work with it, and all of these different things.
Well, you essentially, the juxtaposition there between confirming what people already suspect, but confounding what they expect will happen, ultimately covers all of advertising, the fundamentals of advertising, which is to relate to your reader and then surprise them. Like that's what we're really doing. We're going, right, how can I relate to my reader in this way? Oh, you think that, I think that. Yeah, that's what I suspected. That's what I suspected too. And you're going, but it can be different. And you go, really? And that's the surprise. And that's ultimately all advertising is aiming to relate in some way to the reader and then surprise them. If your advertising doesn't do it, if it only relates to a reader, you'll only ever have that kind of, don't know what I'm using to say, but like that corroborating sale, that kind of, oh yeah, I buy that stuff. But when you then are able to surprise and confound, that's when you get new readers. But it's not, the important thing is not by, or new buyers, it's not by changing their mind about what they believe. And that is the key difference. So little advertising, successful sales is done by changing people's minds. That's why you have to confirm suspicions, but you get more sales by confounding their expectations. That's where the actual movement is. So that it kind of gets.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. You're right. I love the word relate, in fact, but I think from a technical, like I'm challenging myself point of view, like to go through an exercise, it's harder. It's a more fuzzy word, right? Whereas
yes, yeah.
I suspect X. You know what I mean? I can work through that. So, for instance, relational style advertising. If you go back, look at almost any advert from 2020, I would say 50% of them will have some version of the phrase, Persil, we're looking forward to getting back to normal just as much as you are. So they're trying to relate to you, right? I don't know why I picked Persil. It could have been just insert any brand you like. Coca-Cola, we're looking forward to living our lives just as much. Okay, that attempts to relate, but in such a, almost swore then, such a pointless fashion. Okay, so what? There's nothing different or new. There's no real suspicion. If you were to do this version of this process on that type of idea, you might say, you might feel like your life will never get back to normal. That might be your suspicion. You might feel like you'll be trapped in the house forever, that you'll never get to see your friends and your family, and that this is it. This is the before and after moment, and your life will never be the same. But it doesn't have to be this way. We're going to show you how 12 months from now, your life could be much, much better than it ever was before the pandemic with just one change. I don't know what I'm even selling.
I'm going to introduce Bath Coke, Coca-Cola for the bath. New, thinner, like how it's put together, thinner, stickier Coca-Cola, and it can be therefore used at greater volume, bathed in the Coca-Cola. Yeah. Post-COVID,
I'd like to see you dunked, not in a bath of beans, but in a bath of Coca-Cola. Like my mum used to do that with gammon. She used to soak it in Coca-Cola before she cooked it.
Like a penny. It's like a penny. Or actually, not like a penny. It cleans, isn't it? Like, it cleans a penny if you leave it overnight.
And then do you drink it after the penny? I don't know. In our house, we would neck the penny down.
Neck the penny. Yeah.
Point being, one just relates on a surface level, but we can go deeper. And if we can work with their suspicions and their expectations, then we can do a mixture of confirming and confounding. We get a much more interesting mix because we talk to our reader about how they're feeling and we validate those feelings, but we then start to twist around and talk about things being different to the way they might expect. We want that nice balance. So think about those two things. So those are points 3 and 4, but they do work hand in hand. So point 5 is write a word picture, like a postcard from your product. So describe the outcome of your product. I'm going to say you have 400 words. You do not have to write this like a piece of sales copy. It is just a word picture, just a description of what could happen, of the destination. So if the product is predicting a total financial collapse, what does that look like in 400 words? If it's a diet, what does your life look like? And just write it, like just literally write a description. Like you're trying to describe a postcard to me. It's like I should just get that image in my head. Again, don't write it like this has to go in the advert. This has to be the copy. In fact, free yourself from that entirely. You're just getting ourselves ready. Just get writing, almost do like stream of consciousness. What do you see when you think the best case scenario of this product working is, or this prediction coming true is, and just write that description, fix that picture in your mind. Because if we can do that, you might well find you get a brilliant piece of copy. You might just get copy out of that and think, I'm going to use that in my pitch. Great. You might just get a couple of sentences that you use, or you might just get an image or a couple of words that become a headline or whatever. That's why I'm saying write 400 words. You got to push yourself to write a bit more here. Maybe it's like you have to write 400 words. You can't write a single word above or below that word count. I used to have that as one of our tutors when I did my degree. It used to stipulate that this is how many words. It can't be a word above or below, and that was part of the process. But write that so that you have a clear sense of destination. Where are we going? What's the point? What will the world look like? What will you look like? What does my life look like? Think about destination, because once we've got that, well, the point 5, we're writing something, why not use it? But we've got more vivid imagery to work with. So we've kind of transitioned from thoughts, feelings, dreams into something a little bit more concrete of words on the page. And at that point, I would look back over the 5 elements, the 5 steps, the answers that I've written out, the 3 sentences at the start, 400 words at the end, whatever I've written in the middle. And I would look at it, and I think within that, 2 sides of A4 or whatever it is, there's gonna be a pitch. There's gonna be a headline. There's gonna be an opening line that will get you writing. There's gonna be an idea. It will all be contained in there. And if I had to start writing, I'd feel like, okay, I'm gonna have enough. I'm gonna have something to get me going. And I might have to go away for an hour and let it all filter and then come back in the afternoon and write. But I'd feel confident I had the ingredients,
Yeah. Oh, without doubt. I think I want to be harsh. It's not in my nature, but if you did that and then you don't know what the hell to write about that product, you probably got bigger problems, and you need to think about becoming a librarian. The other thing is what I actually think will be the who knows why, but the actual opposite I think will happen, where I think halfway through the process, maybe even sooner than that, but certainly around halfway through, you'll suddenly go, oh, I know how to do this. I know where to go. What would be your advice in that situation? Would you complete the tasks so you've got it, and then go, all right, yeah, that's still the one I was going to go with. I'm going to lead with that. That's my way in. I would probably agree, because then that actually, even if you think, oh, I've got the idea, it's like, no, finish that, because then by the time you come to write that idea, you'll have the energy and excitement and the run up at the laptop that I always encourage people to have, where it's like, yeah, I'm on to the page and I'm writing and I've got that urgency, that thing in there. So go through the thing, but you will get it. You literally probably from the second question, you'll be like, I've got a way in. I know where I'm going to go with this kind of thing.
So here's what I would do. I would gamify it. I'd say you've got 60 minutes. I don't know why people love this, but set yourself a 60-minute timer on your phone. Complete this exercise in 60 minutes. No shorter, no longer. Spend 60 minutes on it. Okay, it's not that long, okay, in the grand scheme of things. It's still really short amount of time to invest in coming up with an idea for an advert. We know that that's the currency that we all work in. The idea is the critical part. 60 minutes. In that time, try to avoid saying it's that. It might be that. Great. If you want to jot it down, fine. Don't. When you do that, what you actually do is you imagine like ideas are doors in a corridor, right? If you open a door and say it's that, I'll go through it. You don't know what's through any of the other doors. 60 minutes is not that long. So just stick your head through the other parts of you know what I mean? Just see what else is out there. Like we've worked, Glenn, with the rides. Again, I won't name them, but it's somebody on our, who's been part of our group for a while, he's got a terrible habit of, he wants that first idea, that the first one that sounds like it might work, he globs onto, and then he won't listen to any other ideas. I've worked with tons of writers like that. It's pretty common. It's because we hate the idea of the inherent uncertainty of not knowing what our idea is yet. It makes you physically uncomfortable, makes you miserable. It's part of the job. It's the same for everybody. You have to fight the urge to just pick early and then shut the rest of the process down, because you don't know what else is out there. So I would say 60 minutes, game it, switch the internet off. Don't fight that urge to pick that idea early. Even if you come across it after 5 minutes, just for the sake of the game, for the sake of me, spend another 55
minutes
in the bath. On this.
Put that idea in the bath. Put that next to the rubber duck and go back to the task. And then if you still love that afterwards, that's fine. Reclaim it from the rubber duck and start writing that idea. But ultimately, you're right. It's good advice.
You want
diamonds.
I would say an hour is a really short period of time anyway. So if in my own process, I would probably do these things, but over the space of a week or two. And in my industry, this is people who I know have the time. I know they have 8 weeks before they write it. If they send me an idea on the first day of working on something, I'm like, I don't want to read that. I know you've only spent a day on it. So you could apply that logic on smaller time scales, where if I gave you an hour to work on something and you came to me with an idea after 10 minutes, I'd say 10 minutes, that's all I get. 10 minutes of your brain power before you pick an idea. Give it an hour. So give yourself a bit more time. And I think you're going to get a better outcome. You're going to maybe come up with different ideas. There's not to say that the last idea is the best one, just as the first idea isn't the best one, but give yourself that chance. Don't close doors. You've got to keep everything open. And then pop yourself in the bath, wash your hands before and after, bit of hand gel.
Not during. Make sure you just in the bath, keep those hands away from the water.
Put them in bin bags if you have to.
Using your elbow to climb out of the bath. I was trying to think of a trite way of saying that kind of not rushing thing. I just give that as advice this morning on one of our academy calls, but it's write fast, think slow is the kind of way about it. I think you can write stuff fast, do the exercises fast, but do the thinking. So like, think about it. Don't just write fast. If that's your want, that's what you want to do. But then then stop and then think slowly and think, okay, can I do that again? And then go, oh, actually, yeah, I can. And write fast. And then think slowly, kind of thing. I was trying to not steal Daniel Kellerman's, is it Daniel Kellerman or whatever? Who's the guy? You know, I mean,
Thinking fast and slow guy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's write fast, think slow, is my working hypothesis.
Well, Glenn, this has been episode 99 of The Fix, and I've got to say, it's been as weird and, I wouldn't say weird and brilliant as all the other ones, but of course I would say that because I'm biased. But next week is episode 100, so we are planning some form of Bath-based extravaganza, possibly a bath of beans, possibly pop them in some Coke with some pennies. Maybe we'll get a world-famous copywriter to come and talk to us. We don't know yet, and that's the exciting part, but make sure you come back next week, check out episode 100, because we will do something unusual, I guarantee.
Something unusual. It might be visually attractive or audibly awful. Who knows? And that's where I'm going to leave it.
Find out next week. Right, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Cheers. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
If you enjoy The Fix and want to get access to even more good stuff, join the Fix Accelerator today. Get access to special masterclasses from Nick and me, watch expert interviews with industry legends, join live copy feedback sessions every week, and get connected to our very own private copy network. Visit thefixaccelerator.com for more information.